And welcome back to the Factor Uncensored. Crypto has taken traders on quite the roller coaster ride these past few months. The market tanked back in May, with more than 200 billion erased from the market in one single day. But at its height, investors were able to turn thousands on a good day. Just like gambling, taking a risk with money can become addicting, even cryptocurrency.
Dr. Obasi, every time we look around, there is something new that we have to be concerned about. And now we're talking about people being addicted to cryptocurrency. Exactly what is that? And does it get ugly?
Yeah, it's a good, interesting new conversation, right? I mean, we've talked about addictions to things like gambling, and you can sort of think about that urge to constantly win more money and to get more out of it. And now with this cryptocurrency business, it seems like people are translating that same principle to that.
I know at one point I was following one particular coin just like every day, and I just couldn't stop watching it. And I just watched it and added more money, but I knew when to stop. When do you draw the line from almost just obsession or addiction? Is there a difference there?
Yeah, I think when it gets to a place when you can't stop thinking about it, right? And so now when you're going to work, it's on your mind. Oh my goodness, I need to make that trade. Or when you're having conversations with friends, it's hard to focus because it's still on your mind. I think oftentimes with the cryptocurrency, with it being so volatile, you sort of seeing these numbers going up and down so rapidly, you're afraid that you're going to miss something and you're just fully immersed into it. But then there's also a huge amount of reward. You know, if you make that right decision and you start seeing the numbers going up, that's very reinforcing because you're getting that reward immediately after making the decision. And so I think at this point, when you begin to feel like you're maybe taking greater risks because now you had a loss and you're trying to figure out how do I get my money back? Mm-hmm. And you're getting more risky and more risky and more risky in your decision making. Next thing you know, you've lost it all. And I think at that juncture, that's when you cross that line.
And as a family member or friend, when should you intervene if you see this person with a cryptocurrency addiction? But I mean, it's kind of like, how do you even see that as a family member or friend, unless they're constantly talking about it, constantly watching the numbers on the computer?
I think you might see a person that seems distracted all the time, right? And so you might just check in and say, hey, what's on your mind? You seem disconnected at dinner time. You know, what are you thinking about? And then after a while, you start realizing, wow, you're still thinking about that cryptocurrency stuff? Maybe we need to have more conversations about that because it could also be embarrassing, especially if it's associated with a big loss. And then if there's money at stake, you know, does that affect the bills? Does that affect the workplace? Does it affect family relationships? You know, are you borrowing more money in order to keep up with this addiction? And so I think as family, you just want to check in to kind of get a sense of what's weighing on you. Can we talk about it? And if you feel like that's not working, now seeking professional help.
Now, is this addiction, do you treat and get the help you need? Is the treatment just like any other addiction, but it's just solely focused on this cryptocurrency?
It's interesting in how the brain works, right? And so we think about these reward systems. That same thing that we use to, you know, be addicted to drugs is the same thing that we use to want to eat food, to want to have drink water, to have sex. All those things are very motivating. And so you can't just turn that switch off, right? And so working with like a psychologist as an example to get the sort of the behavioral strategies of understanding when you're going down that rabbit hole, to understand what my triggers are. Because sometimes there might be certain things that when you see it or hear it, it gets it right back into your brain of like, oh my goodness, I got to stop what I'm doing and get onto the computer. And so learning how to manage those triggers, learning how to sort of stop, learning how to know when it's getting overboard to where you need to get help, all those things you can learn. And it's similar strategies that you would have even with dealing with drugs and alcohol.
All right, Dr. Obasi, University of Houston, we want to thank you for joining us and giving us such wonderful advice and direction here on The Factor Uncensored, sir.